What's going on, guys? I'm back, your movie guru, with another review for you guys. This time I thought I'd switch things up a little bit. I don't just see movies that come in theaters, I actually see quite a few that come out on other platforms like Amazon or Netflix, HBO. So, I try and see movies from, I love movies, so I don't just go to the theater and see, the big box office releases. I'm quite interested in series and films that come out, like I say, on other platforms. So, given that it's October, spooky season, I wanted to review a film that I saw that premiered this weekend on Netflix. It's called In the Tall Grass, written by Stephen King and Joe Hill. I believe his name is Joe Hill. And it has a fairly unknown cast with the exception of Patrick Wilson. He's been in a lot of big Hollywood projects. Right, I guess I'll get this out of the way. So it's got a 40% score on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's written by Stephen King. I am a fan of Stephen King, but I feel that a lot of the adaptations of his movies are really hit and miss. Some of them, I'll really enjoy, and then others not so much. So, that's definitely it's not. I see Stephen King's name on a work, and then that automatically makes me, want to watch this or have to go out and see it. But that said, I thought it was a decent film, given that it's platform. Like I say, it premiered on Netflix. For those of you who haven't seen anything or haven't seen a trailer or anything, it's basically a story of a pregnant lady and her brother. They're out on the road, and then they stop on the road. They're driving to a destination, and then they stop on the road in this kind of backwaters place, out in the countryside, and there's all these tall fields, kind of reminds you of like a children in the corn type thing. But they stop at this place where there's a lot of tall grass, hence the name In the Tall Grass. And then, as they work themselves into this maze, they end up going in there because they hear someone calling for help. But as they walk into this maze, of all this tall grass that you can't see out of, they're unable to find their way out. And not going to give any spoilers away, but even the synopsis tells you that something sinister is in the woods or in the grass. I will say that if you've seen Stephen King movies before, movies based on his books, it will strike you very much as a Stephen King type of movie. Right when I was watching it, there were some elements that I saw, okay, this is very reminiscent of Stephen King. You can kind of see his signature or his trademark in this film. That said, there's some things that I think the movie gets right, and then there's some things that I think that it does wrong. I definitely think that it's tense. It presents somewhat of a new subject matter. How everything plays out is new, but the plot is not new. So let me explain that. So I believe that the plot, is something kind of a story that we've seen before. This lady is fleeing something, and she's trying to make her way towards something, different than what she's known. And then, she comes full circle and finds hope or faith in, what she had before. And, then she ends up, trying to cling back on what she had. So, that kind of story, and then the relationship between her and her boyfriend and her and her brother, that's something that I've seen before. I don't think it's anything that, that a lot of the audience will be surprised to see. Or some of the twists of the film, regarding some of the relationships and some of the things that happened, I didn't think were very big twists at all. things that you really kind of saw coming. So the subject matter isn't new, but I believe that they presented the subject matter in a new way. So I will tell you that the film does involve time travel of sorts, and the way that it presented time travel I thought was fairly interesting. I'm a big fan of time travel films, even though I feel like a lot of times they don't get it right. But this one, I've seen a lot of time travel films, and this one kind of presents it in a new way. It does some things differently, and I thought that was fairly interesting. I think, the acting is adequate. It does make you feel for these characters, and you understand the situation they're in. And, you kind of get invested in them. So I enjoyed that part. I do think it gets a lot wrong, though, in terms of some of the things get kind of convoluted, and they leave you with more questions and answers. So some of the things it tries to explain, hey, this is how this happened, or this is why this is happening, and then it gets more confusing. It doesn't really hold up. And then some of the elements that it introduces, and then it doesn't do anything with them. And so leaves you kind of like, okay, well, what was the point of introducing that in the first place? Or, I don't really see a meaning for that, and then that's something that never gets resolved. And then to go along with that, I've said this a lot. I get some pushback from this. Some people don't agree with me. Some people do agree with me. But I'm not a big fan of horror movies where the entity creating the horror, or the thing that we're supposed to fear, isn't capable of doing anything on its own. That it's only capable of influencing something else, to act on its behalf. That's that really doesn't kind of sit well with me, because it's like, okay, well, this thing is supposed to be the big scary thing, or the thing with all this sinister and malevolent intent that we're supposed to fear. And it's kind of like a paper tiger. It can only influence things around it to happen. I see this a lot of time in ghost films. I think they fall prey to this. A lot of films involving apparitions, or demonic, where they don't really have any teeth. They're all bark but no bite. But once again, like I said, I always got to remember the platform. I gave this film a 6.5 out of 10. Not something that I would go in theaters to see, but definitely something that I enjoyed watching, from my home, comfortable, and just flicking on Netflix, rewinding, fast forwarding, if I missed a part, or I didn't miss a part. So definitely worth something watching just on Netflix. It is October. You're looking for something mildly scary. This is not a terrifying film, but something mildly scary that you can put on, just kind of get into the October mood. I will say it's enjoyable for its platform. If I had to go out and see this in theaters, I'd probably rate it lower, but seeing as it's something serviceable that just came out on Netflix, 6.5 out of 10, like I say, it's worth watching. And just for that concept, that you'll be able to see, that new concept that it presents time travel in, I think is worth the price of admission, meaning turning on Netflix, just because it's something novel and original that, you might be compare it to other movies in the future. You might see something in the future and you be able to reference this film. But that's my review. Thanks you guys for watching. I've had a great weekend. I hope you guys had a good weekend. Like I said, I'm a big horror fan, so I love October. I love fall. Hopefully I see some better horror movies, as this month progresses. I did enjoy It Too. That didn't come out in October, but so far that's the best horror movie I've seen this season. Thanks once again for watching, guys. I'll be back with the next one. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Let me send me a comment. Let me know what you think. All right, guys.